Hey guys, welcome to lesson 1. In this lesson, I'm going to just give you guys a brief overview of what the display network is. So just to start with, Google AdWords is split into two networks. There's the search network and there's the display network. So when you're advertising on the search network, businesses place text ads in the search engine results. And that's what we've been talking about for the past 5 modules. So you guys should be familiar with the search network at this point. So on the display network, businesses instead place display ads, so just image ads or video ads or different types of ads that are visual on this huge network of sites across the internet. So what exactly does a display ad look like? So here's a screenshot to just give you a random example of a display ad. So you can see there on the right that is just one example of a display ad. You guys have probably seen them all the time. You probably don't even realize what you're looking at, that it's an ad being served from the AdWords display network. So display ads are basically these visual banner ads. If you hear the term banner ad, that's what we're talking about there. And you see these on advertising supported sites. So you won't see these on sites where they don't participate in the display network. So that's the big catch with the display network, is that a particular site, in order for it to display a display ad from AdWords, has to participate in the display network and has to support advertising. So you can't just go out there and pick any random site and say, oh, I want to display my ad on this site. They have to support advertising. And just to give you guys a couple quick stats here, the display network supports and reaches over 90% of global internet users. So it's a huge amount of inventory there, because it's 90% of the users on the internet that you can reach. So it expands across over 2 million sites. So a lot of inventory there. You pretty much don't have to worry about that being an issue. But again, like I said, the most important thing that I want you guys to understand about the GDN, the Google Display Network, is that these people are not necessarily in shopping mode. They are going about their daily activities. They're checking the weather. They're browsing around, reading blogs. They're maybe more in like discovery mode. They're catching up on news. They're just watching videos. So that's the major difference. It's more of the traditional approach to marketing. It's like TV advertising, where you're just trying to get out there and like reach people no matter what they're doing at the moment. Obviously, if you're watching TV, that's what you're doing. But on the internet, you could be doing any number of things. Very similar to when you're watching TV, you might be watching any number of different shows and things like that. On the internet, who knows what you're doing, but you can target and control who you reach and when and what types of pages they're on. And that's what I'm going to spend time exploring with you during this module. So let's talk about a few benefits of the display network. First of all, it's extremely scalable. That's one of the biggest advantages that it has over the search network. Because in the search network, you're limited by the number of search queries that match the keywords that you've put into the system. So if you put into the system something that just doesn't have a lot of volume, or it's limited by geography, you can't create volume on the search network. But with the 2 million plus sites that the Google Display Network covers, and the millions, actually billions of impressions that are available as inventory for you to place your ads, there's virtually no cap on the scalability. Now, you do obviously want to control quality, and so we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but it is very scalable. The traffic, meaning the clicks that you pay for, are typically a lot cheaper than what you're going to find on the search network. And obviously there's pros and cons both ways. With search, you have a user that has high intent. So obviously that makes sense that you're going to pay a little bit more for that. It's more competitive. But but clicks are cheaper on the display network typically. At the same time, you're going to see a lot lower click-through rates. So don't be shocked when your click-through rates are like 0.2% or 0.3%, where on the search network, you're probably used to seeing click-through rates of, over 2. So you're looking at 4, 5%, 10% click-through rates are not uncommon. You're not going to find that as much on the display network, again, because of that more passive nature. Another thing that's nice about the display network is you don't have to worry about things like quality score. Obviously, you still want your ad to be relevant, and the same general principle applies, where you want the ad that you're serving to be relevant to the place where it's being served. Obviously, the page that it's on, you want it to match and go along really well with what is on that page. And then your ad itself needs to be very relevant and tied very closely to the landing page. So that all still applies here, and it's still important, but you're not getting graded with like a quality score and all of that in the same way that you are on the search network. Also, another thing to point out, anytime we talk about display, obviously remarketing is a really huge part of display, and it's one of the things that I recommend starting with for anybody new to the display network. Even if you're not wanting to go venture out into targeting cold audiences on the display network, I do highly recommend that you are doing some type of remarketing display ad. So that's really profitable for most businesses that I've ever worked with. And then finally, there's more and more targeting options coming out all the time. In this module, I'm going to talk to you about some of the newest features and options that Google has been rolling out. And it's becoming more and more competitive with Facebook ads and platforms like that offer those really granular types of targeting options. So that's obviously that's on Google's radar, is that ad budgets are sort of moving dollars from display over to Facebook's advertising platform because of that granularity. And so I'm excited to share with you guys some new features that it has to allow you to get better, more specific audiences and get more granular control instead of using those really broad types of audiences. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that as well. So those are just some of the major benefits. There's a lot more, but I just wanted to highlight some of the major benefits to using the display network. So next up, we're going to jump into lesson 2, and we're going to talk about each of the targeting options available so that we can really deep dive into those and you can start using those in your campaign. So I'll see you guys in lesson 2.